What you want to do is you really want to start to think about, first of all, what is the goal? So why would you like a side hustle? What is your why? What do you want to get out of it? How much extra money do you want to earn? How much time do you want to spend on it? Because it's different for everybody. But getting real clarity on what are you going to use that money for? I think that's the absolute key for me. And again, apologies for repeating this because I shared this last week with the group that went through the challenge. For me, I am currently trying to, I'm currently trying to raise enough money to go on what I hope, if the world goes back to any semblance of normality, kind of a last family holiday with my husband and my sons next summer, because all being well, my eldest son will be going off to uni next September, October, and it might be our very last chance to go away as a four. It might not, but it might, because you just don't know how these things are going to pan out. So having that delicious goal, it just makes me so much more motivated to actually take action, to make sure that I'm doing something. So set your goal, then think about all the times that you're in flow. Think about all the things you absolutely love doing and stick them in a list. Ask other people what they think a perfect side hustle could be for you. And if you like any of the ideas, add them to the list. Then you want to create yourself a short list by making sure that you're taking into account the costs, how much you can charge for whatever the service or the product, and also the time that it's going to take you either to learn the skill or to deliver it or to create the item. So make a list, go through, make sure you understand all of that. Pick the best one in terms of the time it's going to take you and the price and the cost. So make sure that you're factoring in those three things. And then you just pick one. And I cannot emphasize strongly enough the importance of taking action and not procrastinating and just having a mammoth list that you're going to sleep on. So the second thing I've already touched on, create a joyful vision. When you can really feel what it's going to be like to have created a pot of money that's completely separate from your day-to-day money. So for my day job, I use that money for the serious things. So that pays the mortgage, that pays the bills, that gets the food, all the stuff that pays my pension, all the things that you have to do because you're a sensible grown-up adult. When you create a secondary income that you didn't have before, and as much as that could just get soaked into your day job, this is money that you didn't have before. So if you can, and I appreciate not everybody is in the position to do this, but if you can, keep that in a separate account and just allocate that for the dream things that you want to do, like going to Walt Disney World, which it is for me. But if you want to, I don't know, if you want to go on a spa weekend with your friends, every so often, or if you really, really want to buy a summer house for the garden or whatever, there's nothing as motivational as really deciding what success looks like for you and then coming up with a visual way of seeing how close you're getting to that success. The Blue Peter charity thermometer. So I've pictured it here. I don't know if anybody remembers that. You probably have to be. So I know Blue Peter, I don't know if it's still a thing, but it certainly was a thing until relatively recently. But I don't know if they still did the charity thermometer. I don't know if that only happened when they wore these type of clothes that you can see in the picture, which is probably the 1970s. But the Blue Peter charity thermometer concept is brilliant because what you do is, you have blocks that you color in, and you color in when you reach an income goal. So say each block is £20 or each block is £100. Every time you make that through your side hustle, you color it in. There's an amazing visual representation. It's really exciting to see how close you are to getting to whatever your target is. And of course, you don't need to do it as a big, massive thermometer. You can do it, you could do it as there's lots of kind of basic coloring books where you could, once I've colored in all of this thing, then I'll get to my target. But there's definitely something there about having a visual representation to motivate you, to let you see when you have a wobble, which you probably will at some point. It lets you see how far you have come, and also how far is left to go, because that might be less. So just deciding what success looks like for you sounds like a sort of airy fairy way to start, but for me this is absolutely critical, because there will be times when you finish your day job, or you finish whatever you've been doing through the day, whether it's homeschooling the kids or whatever it is, and sometimes you'll just be tired. And the novelty will have worn off a little bit. So people start off really excited, and maybe 3 or 4 weeks in, they're like, oh, I could actually just be doing with an afternoon on the couch watching a Christmas movie, which I did today, but I was working at the same time. But having some sort of visual representation, setting yourself a really nice goal, will motivate you to go, okay, no, actually, I will just do something today. So can't emphasize enough how important that is. And number 3 then is create milestones. So for the same reason, it's difficult to, so say you set yourself quite a big income goal. So I know that somebody last week wanted to raise enough money to go and stay with their son, I think it was, in Australia, right? So that might be quite an expensive thing to do. So say that's going to cost, maybe that's a £10,000 thing by the time you factor in all the costs going over there and whatever. Say you want to raise £10,000 as an example. It's really important to set yourself some milestones along the way, because £10,000 could be quite a big goal depending on what you're selling your product or your service for. So what milestones equal movement. So when you say, okay, I want to get to £10,000, but by the end of the month, I want to get to £200. That's where I want to get to, because I'm just starting out. So you put that down, and that's a lovely little milestone. When you commit to doing something and it's measurable, it stops you from having to have everything perfect. And this is also one of the big challenges I see when people are setting up a side hustle. Creative people are often perfectionists, and you just don't want to put it out there until it's totally right. And how long is that going to take? And when are you ever going to go, yes, that's it, it's perfect now? So if you recognize that in yourself, set yourself milestones. And I'm not saying, don't kind of have 2 or 3 iterations of something so that you're putting out something that's good. But remember, done is better than perfect. So it is far better to launch your side hustle, be it a product or a service, and just go for it. Just actually put something out there, and you could put it out at a launch price if you're really uncomfortable about the quality of it. But once you get it out there and you get it moving, then you can fine tune it, and you can fine tune it. And you're far better to perfect something when someone's paying you for it than you are to spend. So for example, if one of the things you want to do as a side hustle is design a training course. So that's, I really have a sense of that from my day job as to how difficult that is, or how time consuming, not difficult, but how time consuming that is. If I am going to sell a training program, the first thing that I do is I come up with the outline of it, and then I put it out there and I see if it sells. I see if there's interest in it, and I'll put a date on it to say, this starts maybe at the end of next month. I will see how many people want to buy it. And then once I've got interest and I have people paying me for it, then I'll write it. So it has to be something that that you can do, but do not spend 6 months pulling together a training course, recording all the videos, creating all the workbooks, getting all the software, getting it totally ready to go, to find out that nobody actually wants it. So with everything, just start, and your side hustle can tweak and evolve. So when I first started my current side hustle, I was making sterling silver molded jewelry with meaningful gemstones that were charged with healing energy. That has completely transformed over the course of the last 7 or 8 years that I've had that side hustle, because I saw what people were buying, and then I adapted, and then I adapted, and I adapted, and now I sell stainless steel hand stamped jewelry. It's completely different. It's a completely different side hustle. But if I hadn't started with sterling silver, molded gemstone blessed jewelry, I wouldn't have got to where I am today, because I wouldn't have known that this is what I love doing and that this is what people would buy. So start somewhere, but set yourself milestones. So go, right, by the end of this week, I am going to do what? By the end of this month, I'm going to do what? Write it down, keep yourself accountable, and just make sure that you're constantly moving. When people go through the Happy Side Hustle Challenge, and they often keep in touch in the free Happy Side Hustler group, when I see them stalling is where they just really, they don't know what to do next, so they do nothing, and they just then the idea just kind of gets forgotten. And that's so sad, because at one point they were so incredibly passionate about that idea, but sometimes they just lose a little bit of momentum. I want you to make sure that you're setting your own milestones, because milestones force you to move forward. Milestones that are measurable, so you can tick them off. So if you say, if a milestone is, I want to have a better understanding of how Etsy works, that's not really very measurable. But if you say, by the end of the month, I want to have 5 products on Etsy, and I am going to have completed the training to understand how to put the tags at the end of the Etsy listing and match them to the title, and how to kind of sprinkle keywords through the copy. That's very specific, and you will know if you have done that or not. So you really need to be setting yourself milestones that you can actually proudly tick off and go, I did that. I did that. Okay. So number four is keep yourself legal. This is something that I cover in the Start Your Happy Side Hustle program. And it is the week that gets a lot of people, because it's the week where all the kind of anxieties come out and people go, oh, I feel this is a really kind of serious week. I just call it the serious week, because this is the week where you have to start thinking about all the kind of legislatory and, everything that because when you start a side hustle, you're a proper business. So you can't just go, oh, I didn't know anything about that. You have to be aware of all these things. I'm not going to read them all to you, but you can see here are some examples of the things that you need to be aware of. Now, all of these things are Googleable, but I guess my top tip for you here would be just Google, I am starting a candle making business. What legislation do I need to be aware of? And just see what comes up there. Have a look at, so everybody needs to be familiar with GDPR. Everybody needs to be familiar with cookie law. If you have a website, everybody needs to be familiar with the right to, when you buy something online, that you've got 14 days to or people can claim a refund. There are things, you must have a privacy policy. Again, if you're on your website now, if you're going through a website builder, a lot of time they have these things suggested for you. But if you're getting somebody to build your website, it's still the onus is on you as the side hustle owner to make sure that you keep yourself compliant and legal. This is the bit where a lot of people get stuck. But honestly, by phoning places like HMRC and asking the questions, phoning trading standards, if you're making something that's maybe specifically suitable for children, to find out how to get that tested. If you are making cupcakes, for example, and you need to have the kind of certificate of health for your kitchen, phone trading standards, phone HMRC, get in touch. They're all there to help you. They're not, I know sometimes people find that those phone calls really daunting, but it's really important to keep yourself legal so that you can then confidently go out there and nobody's going to kind of call you up on anything that you have forgotten. So just because it's a side hustle doesn't mean it's not a proper legal business. Okay. So number 5, find your enthusiasm for selling. Now, selling is another thing I wanted to speak to you about, because it's It's inextricably linked to confidence. When you decide that you're going to sell this thing that you have made, generally it is incredible, and generally people think that it's not good enough. And I see that over and over again, and people kind of share a photo and go, I've made this, what do you think? And usually it's something that's totally amazing. And remember, you just have to be better than most people that you will be selling to. So you don't have to be, so say this is a soap maker here in this picture. You don't have to make the best soaps in the world. You don't have to be making soaps that are on a par with like Lush. But what you do need to do is be able to make a soap better than I can make a soap. So then I will buy from you. So I don't know how to make a soap. So if you can make a soap and it looks good to me, then I probably will want to buy that from you. So it doesn't have to be the best in the world. And it absolutely doesn't have to be something that you feel you need to know everything about. So if you're talking about a service as a side hustle, you only need to know more than the average person about whatever the service is. I don't know everything about business. I don't know everything about it. I can usually find out things because I've got, I've had side hustles for a long time, and because I've got connections with my day job, I can usually find out. I've usually kind of got my nose to the ground as what's going on. But I am not like the guru on setting up a side hustle. I'm not the guru on happiness. I'm not the guru on joy. It's like there are other people that talk about that, loads and loads of people. There are loads of business coaches out there, loads of people that talk about joy and happiness. There are probably people that talk about it together. I don't know, but there probably are. I just want to share what I know, but I don't ever kind of want anyone to think that I'm going, this is the only way to do it. So I like people will ask me questions and they'll say, where did you get this? And I always feel I have to caveat things by saying, this is the supplier that I use for my gift boxes, for example, or here's where I got my business insurance from. I am not saying that's the only place that you could go, but I am saying when I checked it out, in my opinion, this was a good deal. But there will be plenty of others. Like it's not, I don't know everything. And you can do all of this research yourself. But in terms of enthusiasm for selling, you have to be absolutely passionate about the side hustle, about whatever you choose as your side hustle. So let me show you. So I used to be a financial advisor back in the day. My second proper job, I was a financial advisor. And I remember, so again, when you're talking about kind of things that people say to you that stick in your head, I remember my supervisor saying, like, you're not the best at sales, because then we had a league table. I mean, it was very competitive, and there were some amazing salespeople in the team that I worked in, and I was always, I don't know, maybe about the middle, maybe not even the middle of the table. And it was in my manager's interest to have me selling more because she got a kind of bonus kickback from it. So, but I just remember those conversations over and over about how can we get you selling more? How can we get you selling more? And I interpreted that internally as, oh dear, I'm not very good at sales. So I would have told you probably for 10 years after that I wasn't great at sales. And it was probably one of the reasons why I moved from being a financial advisor into a training consultant role, because I thought, all right, well, that doesn't include sales. So part of the financial advisor job that I was good at was training other people. Anyway, what I discovered with hindsight is I wasn't particularly good at sales there, because my job was to try and almost talk people into taking out things that they didn't necessarily need. Now, it wasn't to trick anybody, but I guess I just didn't really feel massively passionate about the products that I was selling. Whereas if I'm sitting on the bus in the normal times and somebody behind me says to their friend, I'm thinking of going to Florida, to Walt Disney World, do you have any tips? Like, you nearly need to hold me back from turning around and going, I can help you. Let me tell you, like, what questions do you have? I'd love to help you, because I could talk about going to Walt Disney World all day long. I'm obviously I'm not on commission from Walt Disney World. I just feel I'm so enthusiastic about it and so passionate about it that I definitely have friends that have taken their kids there. And when, in fact, my best friend took her kids there, my best friend from uni took her kids there, and somebody else said to her, why did you take them to Florida? Because she was like, I don't know if I want to go. Why did you take them to Florida? And she went, well, Julie, because like I'm going, you've got kids. Why would you not want to take them to Florida? Anyway, so I can sell people. So think about the word sales. It's just harnessing your enthusiasm. So I could easily have a 5-day program on talking people into like booking a Florida holiday. Like I could talk about that all week without any issues at all. And because I am so enthusiastic about it, some of you would go, oh, I've never thought about that before, but now, because enthusiasm is passionate or is contagious, isn't it? Enthusiasm and passion are contagious. The reason Air Miles is up there is about kids about 3, so probably about 11 or 12 years ago, I collected enough air miles kind of by mistake. Like I knew I was collecting air miles, but my kids were young. I didn't really know what I was going to do with them because they didn't really seem to have any air miles flights in school holidays. And I thought, oh, well, I was shopping in Tesco at the time. And I think I maybe had a credit card that got air miles. Anyway, I happened to be talking to somebody who was a bit of an expert in air miles and knew exactly how to not work the system, but how to find out the second the flights were released, etc. So I managed to get us 4 return flights plus hotel accommodation in Florida, of course. And the only challenge was that we had to fly on Christmas Day because there were loads of Air Miles flights available on Christmas Day. Why? Because no one wants to fly on Christmas Day, because generally people are doing things on Christmas Day. And there weren't any other times in school holidays that I could make work. And I remember saying to my husband, should we do it? Like, should we fly on Christmas Day? It was just absolutely brilliant because Florida is 5 hours behind here. We like left at 10 o'clock in the morning, but we got there just after lunch. So we had like the longest Christmas day ever. Anyway, the reason that I'm telling you that is I did that solely on Air Miles. So it cost me zero, absolutely zero. You have to pay tax on Air Miles now, but back then you didn't. So it cost me nothing for it because I paid for the hotel by Air Miles, I paid for the flights, I paid for the airport hotel, everything by Air Miles. And when I came back from that holiday, which was just incredible, like Florida at Christmas, like even better than Florida in the summer, I just spent my time saying, listen, do you collect Air Miles to people? Because I felt it was my duty to tell people that Air Miles weren't, you could really use Air Miles to your advantage. And I just obviously there was nothing in it for me to tell people about Air Miles, but I just felt so passionate about it. And I have loads and loads of friends that have got a whole whack of Air Miles now because I just kept saying to them, listen, you're doing your shopping anyway, like get this card, like make sure. Anyway, they're not as great a deal as they used to be, Air Miles, but that's how I know that I am a good salesperson, because it's something that I really strongly believe in and I feel is just an incredible deal or an incredible experience. I can convince most people to do it, but it's the same with your side hustle. If you pick a side hustle that you're half-hearted about, it's going to be difficult to sell it. But if someone asks you what you do and you're able to go, oh, you'll never guess what I make, or you never guess the service that I do, that's the sort of thing that makes people go, what is it? Because it's so infectious, it's so contagious. Okay. Number six is grow your side hustle. Here is my secret to this. Do 10 minutes every single day. You can do Monday to Friday or 7 days, whatever you choose, on marketing. So when you start working on your side hustle, when you launch it, or when you're getting ready to launch it, there's a lot to do. And there's generally a lot of making to do. So think about working in your side hustle as opposed to working on your side hustle. So when you're working in your side hustle and you're making your things or you're delivering your service, whatever, that can take up a lot of your time. I want you to always prioritize 10 minutes every day. That's it. You can do more if you want, but make a deal to yourself that for 10 minutes every day, you're going to do something to market your side hustle, to grow your side hustle. Because if all you do is work in your side hustle, the future orders, the future clients aren't going to necessarily come to you because no one will know about it. You have to make it your goal to market widely. And if you think about what you could commit to do in 10 minutes a day, it could be something on social media. It could be going into Facebook groups and getting to know your ideal clients. It could be something locally. Maybe you want to do a piece in a local newspaper, whatever is relevant for your side hustle. So compile a list of things that you could do to market your side hustle, and then just commit to doing 10 minutes a day, or even one thing a day. But when you do that, that really starts to add up, and so it's back to what we were saying at point 2. It starts to gain that momentum, doesn't it? It's like when you start, if you've got a car at the top of a hill and you take the brakes off and the car starts slowly to go down the hill, but as it keeps going, it picks up momentum. There comes a point where it's really difficult to stop that car because it's got so much momentum. It's really going and it's growing. So it's the same with the 10-minute a day thing. When you start off, you're like, oh, this is a bit awkward. I don't quite know what sort of marketing things could be on my list. Just research, Google, keep adding things to your list. And then when you do one thing a day and another thing a day, you'll start to see your followers building on social media. You'll start to see more orders come in. You'll start to see more clients for your service-based side hustle. And it becomes just a really nice kind of virtuous circle. So you're going out there and you're speaking to more people, or you're sharing it with more people, and more people are coming back in. So your side hustle starts to grow and grow. 10 minutes a day working on your side hustle, not in your side hustle, will make a massive difference. And number 7, the last one, manage your mindset. The concept of happy side hustle, it has to make you happy. Now, it's unrealistic to go, I am totally happy with every single thing that is to do with my side hustle. I don't like doing my accounts. I probably don't really like writing social media posts. I'm not great at that. I quite like the chatting. I like the video bit. I like the Facebook Lives. But there are a list of things that really don't give me deep joy. But I have to realize that overall, I want to be. So if you can outsource those. If you can afford to get someone on Fiverr to do them, or if you can do a skill swap with somebody, then that's perfect. But you have to be making sure that you're spending most of your time doing the joyful thing. And sometimes that's the working in your side hustle as opposed to working on your side hustle. The mindset thing is about making sure that you don't just hit a wall and stop. So my secret for that is make sure that you have some sort of support. So an accountability partner is a great idea. Get somebody else who's going through the same journey so that you guys can kind of swap ideas and you can keep each other accountable. I find that works best in a bit of a group, which is why I set up the Happy Side Hustle Hive, because sometimes life gets in the way for somebody. So I've got an accountability partner who lives in America, who we were paired up in a program that I did probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And a lot of stuff has happened in her life. And although she's lovely and we had all these ideas, we don't really communicate that much anymore. So when you just pick one partner, although it's a great idea, when life gets in the way, it can kind of stall. For one of you, it can stall both of you. So I suggest finding a group. So that can be the free Happy Side Hustlers Facebook group, or it can be joining the women in the paid Hive. But there are ways to do that. There will be other Facebook groups. So you can often find Facebook groups for, like, say, so for me, I make hand stamped jewelry. There are loads of Facebook groups out there that have women that make hand stamped jewelry. So you could go and you could find your people in there. Just make sure you pick a group without any drama. That's all I would say. There's quite a few Facebook groups out there that have, that I dip in and then I just come straight back out of, because where there's drama allowed, or where there's negativity, or where people are allowed to just go in and moan about stuff, it just doesn't feel good to me. I like my Facebook algorithm to be like my life. I like to carefully curate it, and I like to make sure that when I go onto social media, I have a positive experience. So where I'm in a group, like I've used this example before, but we've got local residents forum thing on Facebook, which is useful to be in sometimes because it'll say, oh, guess what? This new lovely shop is coming, locally. But a lot of the time it's just people like really angry because a teenager threw an egg at their window and then there's like a big witch hunt about it and whatever. So I have to be really careful how much time I spend even going into that. So when it starts to get dramatic, I just turn it back off again and come back out of the group, or just don't have it in my notifications. So that's the only caveat I would give you if you're going out there just to find a group of people that make the same thing as you or provide the same service as you. There are plenty of lovely supportive groups out there, but make sure that you find one of them and don't get dragged down by a group that maybe isn't moderated particularly well. Okay, so here are the 7 steps. 1, find your perfect side hustle idea. The second one is create a joyful vision. So make sure that you've got your Blue Peter charity thermometer. Make sure you know why you're doing it and make sure it actually does bring you joy. Because if it doesn't bring you joy, you're not going to do it. There's if you're not certain it's going to bring you joy, don't start it. Like, don't add any extra stress into your life. When you find that gift, that thing that's absolutely bursting to come out of you and that brings you joy and brings other people joy, it's just such an incredible thing to do. Create milestones. So remember, milestones equal movement. So you want to be saying, right, by the end of today, by the end of this week, by the end of this month, and you must make them measurable and you must hold yourself accountable to them. So there's something there about maybe declaring them as well. So maybe kind of posting in a group and saying, or just like sharing with a friend and saying, by the end of next week, I'm going to have done this. Please check with me and make sure I actually have. And then you're just much more likely to do it. Keep yourself legal. So just do a little Google about all the things that you might need to take into account for the type of side hustle that you have. They're not as daunting as they look, but you will feel so much better when you know you've kind of basically gone through the list and you've made sure that you've covered off everything that you need to. Find your selling enthusiasm. So remember that it's about finding your passion for your side hustle, which you've got. Because when you decide your joyful side hustle, you'll feel that like elation. You'll feel that this is what I'm going to create and this is why. And then make sure you're explaining it to other people in that way. Because the amount of joy that I see in the Happy Side Hustler group and in the 5-day challenge, when people go, I've worked it out, it's this, and you can hear that in people's voices. And when someone goes, this is what I'm going to make, you're like, oh, tell me more about it. Even if it's something that I think that wouldn't have occurred to me in a minute that would be interesting. When I see somebody that feels massively passionate about it, I want to know more. I want to know why. And I want to be around their passion. We want to be around happy, energetic, passionate people. So we find our side hustle and then we find our community. Grow your side hustle. So remember to work on, not just in your side hustle. And generally, if you're a creative, it'll be the working in your side hustle that will really bring you joy. Just set yourself in some of the milestones. Make sure that you're progressing your side hustle, but the very minimum, 10 minutes a day, marketing. Just will really, really build over the year and get people to know about your side hustle. And finally, manage your mindset. Find yourself that positive, uplifting, supportive community where you can make sure that if at any point you go, eek, I've stalled, you've got people that are kind of rushing in to hold you up, to have your back. There's lots of places that you can find that on the internet. Find it. I want you to create an action plan and make it happen. You can do this. You will probably, no, that's unfair. It's possible that you will lose momentum at some point. That's why it's really critical to really get clear on your goal and your milestones, like right now, while you're still buzzing from this, while the idea is still like oozing out of you. Do it now so that in a few weeks' time, if you start to just feel your energy slipping a little bit, you can remind yourself, you can kind of boost yourself right back up and remind yourself why it is that you were doing it in the first place. So go out, make it happen. Let me leave you with 2 quotes. One by the founder of Amazon, who said, I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that, but I knew the one thing I might regret is not trying. When we go back to what I've mentioned before, for those of you that have tuned in previously, the conversations of the dying, the things that people say at the end of their lives, they don't talk about the things that they did. They talk about the things that they didn't do. What is the worst that can happen when you have a side hustle idea and you're going to launch it? What is the worst that can happen here? It isn't as massive a success as you hope, but it's a smaller success. Like, the only way it won't work is if you give up. That's it. Everything else is a learning. So you might try something and it might not go brilliantly. And I've shared, like, that's happened to me loads of times, but that's okay, because I've gone, okay, what can I take from this? And what can I learn for next time? What can I learn for next time? So, last quote, of course, picture of me and Mickey in happier times when I was allowed to go and visit him. The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. Take one action, commit to that however many minutes a day, start it tomorrow, and you will see it'll be like that car going down the hill. You will start to snowball, snowball, snowball until you see your side hustle really coming to life, really growing and delivering what it is that you want from your side hustle vision. I just want to thank each and every one of you. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I really appreciate you having the bravery to go, I had no idea what I want to do last Saturday. I now have a fully fledged idea that I am going to go out and I am going to give to the world. The world needs your side hustle. You need the joy that comes from it yourself. The world needs the joy to ripple out when you send that side hustle out into the world. We need to do this not just for ourselves. We need to do this for everybody else. Make it happen. Create a plan. Make it happen. And thank you. Thank you so much. Please keep in touch in the Happy Side Hustler group. I would love to see how your side hustles really come to life. And please share your successes.